Hello, and welcome to the Well-Read Poem. The following 6 readings are an encore performance of previously recorded episodes of the Well-Read Poem for your enjoyment. Thank you very much for listening.
Reading is interpretation. A poem well read is a poem well understood. In this podcast, brought to you by the Literary Life Podcast, poet Thomas Banks will help you increase your love and understanding of poetry. Each short season of weekly episodes will be connected by a particular theme or focus, and in addition to modeling good reading, Mr. Banks will introduce the poet and provide some light explication and analysis, with an emphasis on both form and meaning. Poetry is not a silent endeavor. It's meant to be heard, and more importantly, it's meant to be recited out loud. Join us now as poet Thomas Banks presents the Well-Read Poem.
Hello, and welcome to the Well-Read Poem. Today I'm going to be reading you a poem originally written in French in the 19th century by the poet, critic, novelist, and social figure Théophile Gautier. And Gautier was one of the best-known French writers of his day and also one of the most influential. Still pretty well known in France, and also, if you're familiar with the history of the artistic movement known as aestheticism in the 19th century, you might have heard his name. So Gautier was quite celebrated as a writer and also kind of a man about town sort of figure. Amongst other things, he a very energetic character. He accomplished the feat of swimming from Marseille. If you know France, Marseille is there on the Mediterranean coast in the south. He swam from Marseille to the Château d'If, which is an island prison off the coast of Marseille. And if you're familiar with the Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas, the Château d'If is the prison that Edmond Dantes has to escape from. So anyway, so he was more than just a writer. He was, I hate the word, but we would say today an influencer as well. So very famous for his poetry, his novel Mademoiselle de Maupin, and other things as well, both in his vocation and just his private life. Very adventurous sort of spirit. He was a great influence on Oscar Wilde, Aubrey Beardsley, and other writers and artists of the later 19th century who adopted his critical dictum of art for art's sake, or if you're familiar with the Latin motto, ars gratia artis, the idea that the creation of painting, of music, of poetry, prose, the creative act is kind of its own justification without any need to appeal to, I don't know, any sort of social use to justify it. And Gautier, he took this doctrine to an extreme. He famously said once that the useful is ugly. So if something is useful, it's ugly by definition, and I don't care for it, which is, of course, a kind of a silly thing to say. I mean, you would have to say that a chair, doesn't matter how well designed or well carved or what have you, is ugly because you can sit in it. Well, that's nonsense. But anyway, we will leave that aside. Gautier is one of the major French Romantic poets, and the poem I'm going to read you today is a fairly simple one. It's entitled Noël, which is simply Christmas, and it is written in a fairly simple meter. I'm not going to read you the French of it. I'll read you the English translation by a woman named Agnes Lee. This is from the mid-19th century. So the translator here has kept pretty close to Gautier's original meter and has rendered the poem into iambic tetrameter. Christmas by Théophile Gautier. Black is the sky and white the ground. O ring, ye bells, your carol's grace. The child is born, a love profound beams o'er him from his mother's face. No silken woof of costly show keeps off the bitter cold from him, but spider webs have drooped them low, to be his curtain soft and dim. Now trembles on the straw downspread the little child, the star beneath, to warm him in his holy bed, upon him ox and ass do breathe. Snow hangs its fringes on the byre. The roof stands open to the tryst of aureoled saints that sweetly choir to shepherds, come, behold the Christ. Gautier, if you've never read him, I should say that this poem is simpler in its language, in its more straightforward in its approach to its subject than much of his writing. He's generally a much more extravagant, a much more ornate sort of poet, and certainly as a prose writer as well. But this one catches him in a moment of sort of rare simplicity. So Gautier, if he's new to you, then I hope this poem has been a welcome and tasteful introduction, and I will read it one more time, just for the heck of it. Christmas by Théophile Gautier. Black is the sky and white the ground. O ring, ye bells, your carol's grace. The child is born, a love profound beams o'er him from his mother's face. No silken woof of costly show keeps off the bitter cold from him, but spider webs have drooped them low, to be his curtain soft and dim. Now trembles on the straw downspread the little child, the star beneath, to warm him in his holy bed, upon him ox and ass do breathe. Snow hangs its fringes on the byre, the roof stands open to the tryst of aureoled saints that sweetly choir to shepherds, come, behold the Christ. Thank you all very much.
This has been The Well-Read Poem with poet Thomas Banks, brought to you by the Literary Life podcast. For show notes and the text of the poem, visit theliterary.life. To find out more about Thomas Banks and the poetry resources he offers, go to houseofhumaneletters.com. This podcast is patron-supported. Visit patreon.com/theliterarylife to find out how you can support this podcast and get additional bonus content, including monthly live poetry explications. If you enjoy this podcast, please subscribe, rate, and review. Thank you for listening.